Hey everyone, welcome back to the Django crash course. In this video, we are diving into one of the most important parts of any web application, authentication. We will learn how to use Django's built-in authentication system to log in, log out, and register user. Let's get started. First of all, we are going to create a new app. First of all, activate your virtual environment. Source venv/bin/activate. For Windows user, it is going to be /venv script activate. So this is for Windows user. Once you have activated your virtual environment, run the command python manage.py start app authentication. With this, a new app has been created called authentication. Now in your settings.py file, in the installed apps, add your new app authentication. First thing, we are going to define our user model. Django provides an inbuilt user model for authentication, but it is recommended to create your custom user model, even if the inbuilt model is sufficient for your needs. To create a custom model with all the default fields, we'll create a class user and it inherits from abstract user. Now we are going to import abstract user from django.contrib.auth.models. Import abstract user, and we are going to keep this class empty. With this, we have created a user model that inherits from the default user provided by Django. Later on, if you want to add any other fields to your user model, you can put it here. Next, we are going to create a new file, forms.py, and here we are going to create our user creation form. From django.contrib.auth.forms, import user creation form. Class custom user creation form inherits from user creation form. Class meta, we are going to define the model to be used for it, which is user inside the authentication.models, and the fields that we want in the form: email, username, first underscore name, and last underscore name. So these are the fields that we want to include in the form. By default, user creation form includes the password fields, so you don't have to write it here. Once we are done with the form and with the model, we are going to define the URLs. Create a urls.py file, and here from django.urls, import path URL patterns equal to path. We are going to define three paths: views.login_user with the name login user, logout user, and register user. This one will have the URL register, this one logout, and that's it. From authentication, import views. This one is logout, this one is register. Alright, we have defined three views for login, logout, and register. Open up the views.py file and create three views. Def login_user takes in the request, and for now I'll just write pass. Def logout_user takes in the request, pass. Register user takes the request and pass. So we have created three view functions. Right now we haven't written the logic. Now we are going to get into the forms.py file and we are going to create another form for login. Class login form, it inherits from forms.login form. From Django, import forms. First of all, we are going to take the username, that is forms.char field, and we just provide max length of 50, required true. And next is password, which is forms.char field. The widget is equal to forms.password input, required equal to true. With this, we have defined a login form. Now we will go into the view, and one by one we are going to define all these view functions. First of all, we have to import some functions from Django. From Django dot contrib dot auth dot from Django dot contrib dot auth import authenticate, logout, login. That's all that we need. First of all, in the login user, if request dot method, if it is equal to post, in that case we are going to take the form, login form, and we supply it with request dot post. This is going to put all the data from the request to this form, and then we can handle it just like any form. If form dot is underscore valid username equal to form dot clean data username, password equal to form dot clean data password. With this, we have the credentials for logging in the user. Next, we are going to call authenticate function, and we provide it with the request and the credentials, username equal to username and password equal to password. Authenticate function gives you either a user or none. If it finds the user, we will get the user, otherwise we will not get anything. And we can check if not user, then we can return redirect, and we'll just send the user to the login page. Let's import the redirect. Otherwise, if we have the user, then we are going to log this user in. Login, we pass it the request and we pass in the user. That's all. Now we'll return another redirect. This time we are going to redirect the user to to-do page, my to-do. Check the URL again. It is my to-dos. So if the user is logged in successfully, send the user to my to-do URL. Otherwise, if the request is not post, then we'll just create a form, login form, and we are going to return this in the template. Return render request authentication / login.html. In the context, we are going to provide the form. Let's have a recap. If the request is post, take the data from the request, put it in the form, check if the form is valid or not, extract the username and password, authenticate. If you get the user, log the user in and redirect it. Otherwise, redirect to the login page. If the request is not post, create an empty form and show it to the user using login.html template. For logging out, it is quite simple. We'll call the logout function, logout, and we pass it the request. After that, we can return a redirect. This time we are going to redirect the user to the login page. So when the user logs out, we want the user to go back to the login page. For the registration, we have something similar to the login user. if request dot method, if it is post, then custom user creation form, the form we created earlier, and we pass it request dot post. This will fill in this custom user creation form with the data from the request. Then we can check if form is score valid. If the form is valid, then we want to save it and return redirect to login. Otherwise, if the request is not post, then we are going to continue the normal flow. Form equal to custom user creation form and return render request authentication slash register dot html and passing the form in the context. Alright, that's all that we need to do in the views. I'm going to create a new folder here in the authentication. In the templates folder, inside accounts folder, accounts, it is authentication. I'll create login.html. So now we have created this template. I'll just put the boilerplate code right here, login, and create the form here with the action empty, method equal to post. Keeping action empty means wherever we got this page, we want to send the data to the same URL. That's why in this view we have done both the logic for the post as well as for the get request. Now here, first of all, we are going to put the CSRF token. This is important, otherwise your form will be rejected. CSRF underscore token. After this, we will output our form. In the end, we are going to create a button, type submit, and we are going to write here login. This is for logging in. We can just copy this and put it back here, rename it to register.html. This one is register. I'm going to create here a h1 register your account. So in the login, I'm going to create another h1, and this time it is going to be login using your username and password. This is done. We have created the forms. We have created the views, URL, model. Next thing that we need to do is make sure authentication app has been added to the installed apps. And finally, go to the end, create a new settings, auth underscore user underscore model, and it has to be equal to name of app authentication dot name of the model, which is user. Using this setting, Django is going to use this particular model from authentication app. Now, before moving forward, you have to do a few things. Delete this migrations folder. Next, delete this db.sqlite3 file. Now, we have deleted our previous database. Otherwise, we would have gotten some errors due to the migration files. Now, let's create migrations. For that, we'll write python manage.py make migrations and name of the app, which is authentication, and to do. When I press enter, two models have been created, and now we can apply the migration. Python manage.py migrate. With this, you can see our authentication migration has been added and the to do as well. Migrations have been applied. Now we have forgotten to add our URLs to the core Django URLs. For this, we will simply create a new path and we are going to give it a prefix of authentication. Include name of our app, authentication.urls. And with this, the URL files from our authentication app will be included. Let's run the app. Python manage.py run server. Open it up. And you can see the app is working. We are going to visit /authentication/register. This is our registration form. We are going to use our credentials here. Let's put like this. For the username, I'll just put Rishabh. For the password, you need to fulfill these criteria. And we have successfully saved our user. Now I'm going to use my username and password to log in. If I successfully log in, I will be sent to my to-dos URL. And you can see my to-dos URL is here. To check who is the currently logged in user, we are going to go to our my to-do template. And here we are going to add a h2 tag showing the name of the currently logged in user. For that, I'm going to output user.username. If I reload, you can see my username here. Depending on who the user is, that value will be displayed. So this is how you can log in. But many times you don't want unauthenticated user to access certain part of your website. Now how will you manage that? For that, you will use a decorator. For example, the views here in this file, we don't want it to be accessible publicly. For that, we are going to import decorators from django.contrib.auth.decorators import login required. This is the decorator that will require the user to log in before the views can be accessed. To make a view protected, you will just write in front of the view add login_required. That's all. Similarly, if you add it to every route here, login required, add login required, add login required, add login required. Now I'll go into the settings.py and I will define two more settings. First is login redirect _ URL, which is /authentication. And for logout _ redirect _URL, it is going to be, for this it is just / and for this it is going to be /authentication. So this tells after logging in where to send the user, and this settings define where to send the user when the user logs out. To access the user information in the views, you will just write here. To access the user information, you can do print request.user. The request.user contains the currently logged in user. Let's test it out. Before anything else, I'm going to my todos.html, and here I'm going to add a new URL, a tag with the href equal to URL tag. It is going to give me the URL for logout user. In this settings.py file, define login URL as well. With this, if a user tries to access a protected URL, the user is going to be sent to this particular URL. Let's test it out. So this is my login form. If I try to access the index page, which is protected, we are sent back to the login page. If I try to log in, this is my to-dos page. I can now even go to the index page. It works. I am able to access this view only because I have logged in user. Now I can go to my previous page and I can log out, and we can test it out again. Going to the index page with logged out user, we are sent back to this login page. That's the basic of Django's built-in authentication system. You now know how to handle login, logout, user sessions, and protect your views. Questions? Drop them in the comments. Like and subscribe for more Django tutorials. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.